Good morning and welcome to Hometown Heroes. And this is your co host, Rick Irving, with Mary Staffel. And today we have our dear friend, Chuck Wright, who is a commissioner with the Texas Veterans Commission, which for veterans in Texas is a pretty important entity that takes care of our veterans and does so much for our veterans. Chuck, happy belated Marine Corps birthday and happy belated Veterans Day. So, welcome to Hometown Heroes.
Well, thank you guys, and it is great. It is an honor to be on this show. I've watched it for quite a while, and finally, you guys have run out of really good guests, so you're dragging the bottom of the barrel to get me.
Well, I didn't want to say that, Chuck.
Only you would go there.
I've been called worse by better people, so it's all a good thing.
Oh my, yeah, Chuck. I was trying to think of when we first met. It's been probably 6-7 years ago, and our paths cross several times every year at different events. But it seems like that even though we don't see each other that often, that we can catch up fast,
It's one of the things that I love about the veteran space is, and I'm an Air Force brat, so I got used to it early on, but we're used to separating from friends. And when we reconnect, you hit the ground running. It's where were we in that last conversation? And let's just pick it up right there.
And it's usually at some big event. Well, every once in a while, we'll just be at an event, but it's not an event we plan to be at together.
Yes. Yeah, that is true. But then again, you are at virtually every veteran event in North Texas. You are very much the man and the photographer to the stars.
Well, I can make your picture look good, so that's pretty good. So,
and that is an impressive task. I need all the AI help I can get. My sergeant major used to say I was so ugly I was cute.
Oh.
But you, Mary, and myself we go to so many events, and every once in a while, it's like one of those events where there's 36 people that we see at their specific event, and they're all there. So it's kind of like a homecoming, know? And it's not always a funeral or something, but it's like, I say, man, this is a good event because there's Chuck, there's somebody else, But
I'm racking my brain, and you got me off on a tangent, thinking about where we first met, and it does go back a ways.
Yeah, it goes back. There's been a lot of events.
Yeah, a whole bunch of events, and I appreciate both of y'all's work in the space to keep people connected. Obviously, Mary running roll call, which is really neat. It's just on the far side of the world from me, and it's hard to get over there. And we really need to do something over here. And I think most of the listeners, but for those who don't, my friends back east, and I have a day job, and our home office is in New York City. And they don't understand how big Texas is.
Right.
So I'm just going to talk about the 14 county. I think it might be up to 18 county now, calling themselves DFW. People don't realize it is the size of Delaware, Rhode Island, and Connecticut combined. We would be number 18 in the state. Now, this is DFW. This is not Texas. This is just the DFW region. And Houston is almost as big. And that's just two of our big cities in Texas. But we are huge, but we'd be 18th if we were our own state. And again, just DFW. So it's a huge area. I like to brag about it because it's also, and this surprises people, this is the largest region in Texas for veterans in terms of population. And everybody's like, well, you mean it's not San Antonio, which is military city? I said, no, San Antonio doesn't have the jobs that that DFW has, and that's why we get so many veterans. And I appreciate being on because, as I call it, I like to share the gospel of TVC. And as you were saying off air, we're here, and I love this mission. And I know you all will appreciate this. We serve those who served. We're not asking them for money. We're not asking them to join our club. We're just here to serve them, and we do that, and we can drill into that a little bit. But that is the role that I've kind of aspired to for quite a while, and I now have it. And so, and I appreciate being on your show because it has such a wide reach. I'm trying to make people in DFW in North Texas more aware of the asset and the resource that TVC is for our veterans.
Absolutely. Well, let's just talk about how you became a veteran. You were a jarhead, a United States Marine,
yep.
but you're also 5-6 generations. Your family are Texans. I mean, your family's been in Texas a long time.
So I like to brag about that because we trace our roots directly back. My great-great-grandfather ×4, I think it is. I got to count them. Helped found the town of Fayetteville, Texas, in Fayette County, which is wonderful farm community, but it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere now. And he was part of Austin's old 300 for our Texas history buffs, the original 300 settlers to the state of Texas that Stephen F. Austin brought in. And it's a fascinating piece of history. He fought in the War of 1812 in the Battle of New Orleans. He was a colonel under Andrew Jackson. He had come here from South Carolina, which was interesting because another friend of the program is Lieutenant Commander Mike Thornton, who is also from South Carolina. And we were talking about this weekend. I had the honor of being part of the Corsicana Veteran Parade. So, yeah, I love that part of history. My dad served in World War II. Uncle Ferd did also. Uncle Ferd flew 2 B-26 missions on D-Day. Came home with a Silver Star, which is pretty impressive for a crewman. Enlisted guys generally didn't get a lot of awards from the Army in World War II. Dad served in the Pacific, came back, got out.
Was he a Marine?
No, he was in the Air Force.
Oh, okay.
And he started out in the Army, and then he got out and then joined the Air Force sometime between 47 when it was created and 50.
Smart man.
Yeah. It was funny. And we were talking before about Air Force ranks, and Mary can help us out here. But he came in and was immediately promoted from E4 to E5. They gave him another stripe to come in. But the problem was that kind of kept him from getting promoted for a long time. And then he got promoted twice very quickly and wound up retired as a senior master sergeant, which is an E8. E8. Thank you. And I always have to think about it. We were joking about the fact, and let's not even get started on how the Navy does its ratings.
Yeah, I can't figure theirs out either.
Nobody knows that. I don't even think the Navy guys know that one. Anyway, I joke that I've got a foot in every branch because I applied for the Coast Guard Academy out of high school and thinking I could go play football, and that my football career lasted like 15 minutes. It was the shortest football career on record. The coach walked over and said, "Son, I love your enthusiasm, but I'm seriously worried you're going to get hurt out here." And it wasn't long after that, and this is kind of part of that story of how I got to the Marine Corps. I came around the corner. The Marine Officer Selection Office recruiter was there, and we started talking. I had a half-brother who'd been in the Marine Corps in Vietnam. And he goes, "Well, I don't know if you know this, would you like to fly?" Well, I'm an Air Force brat. And pilots walk on water in the Air Force. They really do. I mean, And some of them take it a little bit too seriously. And I give all my Air Force pilot buddies a lot of grief about that. But I was hooked. And I was asked later, well, why'd you join the Marines? And I said, hey, I figured I was going to be a bear. I may as well be a grizzly. Wound up going to flight school, flying helicopters, did 2 WESTPAC. There we go. There's me and my beloved battle frog. I'm so old that my airplane is retired now, although they're making a comeback. They're standing up a squadron of them, and they're refurbishing them, and there are a couple of the ones. So we gave an entire squadron to the Secret Service for them to take officials around. And at the time it was in Afghanistan, but it didn't take all of the helicopters over there. So the ones that didn't go are now being stood up. Not 100% certain what they're going to do, but a buddy of mine said, yeah, you could go back and fly.
Are these CH-46? Is that what it is? Yeah. CH-46?
And it was, the Navy used them extensively because they work really well doing things like vertical replenishment from ship to ship. They've got great characteristics landing into the wind, no matter where the wind is from, because of the dual rotors on top. Absolute joy to fly. There is a scene in the movie where they land on the battleship, and it's Tommy Lee Jones and Steven Seagal, and I can't remember the name of it, but there's a scene where they show them flying to land on the back of the battleship. And I love that little scene. I've tried to get just the clip of it so I can watch it over and over and over, because it's exactly what it's like. And I have actually, the one picture you didn't pull, I've actually landed on a battleship. I have landed on the USS New Jersey.
Wow.
There are not a lot of pilots who can claim a battleship bounce. So, yeah, very special battleship to me. It was coming into Pearl Harbor. And so we were taking the reporters out, which was very much the same mission in the movie they were doing. They were taking the reporters out and the entertainment for the crew. And, they show, but it's just, that was, to me, the funnest part of the movie.
You were stationed in Hawaii, correct?
It was tough duty, but somebody had to do it.
Yeah. So you did get some time flying out to ships, and that was part of your.
We would deploy aboard ships. So I mentioned that I had applied to the Coast Guard Academy. I spent a year of my life on Navy ships. I have more ship time than some of my Navy buddies. And it was, I thought I was going to hate it, and it was such a thrill to go into different ports. My first operation in the fleet was on Iwo Jima. It was incredible. In fact, our friend Woody Williams and I have talked about that a couple of times, flying around it and seeing it. Oh my Lord. And I'll say this, if you've ever smelled a kitchen match and that nasty sulfur, imagine that times about 10, and it never goes away. That is the stinkingest place on the planet I've ever been. I cannot imagine what those Marines and corpsmen went through on that island.
Whenever you went there, did you stay there for a little while, or were you just ferrying people back and forth?
We were just ferrying people back and forth. We stayed on the ship.
Okay.
Didn't deploy ashore. We were only there, I think the operation took 2 or 3 days. But it's just one of those that every Marine that was on that ship, every sailor that was on that ship, just you develop a respect for what our predecessors did. There is no question when Admiral Nimitz said uncommon valor was a common virtue, it comes to life. It absolutely comes to life. I encourage people, and it's be it a Civil War battlefield, be it an American Revolutionary battlefield, be it go walk Mount Vernon. We did that last year. Oh my Lord, to walk with the ghost of George Washington and Martha Washington and Ben Franklin arguing with John Adams and Thomas Jefferson hanging out. And you're in this room and the history comes alive and makes it real. And I know both of you have experienced that at different places. I absolutely, number one on the bucket list for Michelle and I is Normandy, and then a trip to the cemetery at Bellewood in Europe.
Wow. That would be good.
Would be great stuff. So sorry, I get off and just I just roll with it. But it is, and it's funny how we get older and we become more appreciative of the history that we get to experience. And I was actually talking about that at the Veterans Day parade. There were a couple of high school kids there that were the children of some friends of mine. And one of them, they're from Virginia. And I'm like, you've never been to Monticello? You've never been to Mount Vernon? What is wrong with your parents? They should be arrested for that. I mean, we have to go to these places and we have to understand what happens. And it takes us to where we are today. And again, I know for most of your audience, and I know for the two of y'all, you have a deep appreciation for history and the living history we have a chance to connect with.
Absolutely. With our World War II, our Korean War, and our Vietnam War veterans, those are the people that were our grandparents and our parents. And, I know Mary feels the same way. The more stories we can have shared from these people, the better.
Yep.
No, absolutely. I could not agree more. And hey, I want to tell you something. Speaking of Vietnam, a lot of people don't know Lieutenant Commander Michael Thornton's story. And it's an incredible story. I'm not going to tell the whole thing right now, other than to say he is the only Medal of Honor recipient to save the life of another gentleman who would go on to earn the Medal of Honor. Only time it's happened in history. They are going to do that movie. And he and I were talking about it this week. I hadn't even heard about it yet. But Alan Rickman, the gentleman who plays the current Reacher, who's the great big football-looking guy, and he was also, if you saw the movie Heartbreak Ridge with Clint Eastwood, he played the Swede. He was the great big guy who came in, and Clint Eastwood knocked him down, and then he told him, I'm going to go. I'm ready to report to the brig, sir. And he said, nope, I'm going to turn you into a Marine. But Rickman is going to play Michael Thornton. And I think it's going to be incredible. They're going to Thailand to shoot that movie. And I know both of you all know Commander Thornton.
I was with Michael and Rainey not long ago, and she was telling me about the movie and all the things that were going on with that. So that's exciting, because if you don't know his story, you need to go Google Michael Thornton and look that up. And there's a lot of videos about it. Yeah. But he was in a bad situation and came out alive and saved some other people's lives doing it, because they weren't
entire team.
They weren't in friendly territory.
They were
dropped off at the wrong place.
Yeah. No, it's an absolutely incredible story. And that kind of segues into talking about, we're going to have the Medal of Honor Museum here in DFW. Gosh, I sound like I'm bragging about DFW in Texas, and by golly, I am. Love it. And that's going to be an incredible facility. And he is just one of the stories, and you read these stories, and it's just phenomenal. And I told him, I said, yeah, I didn't plan on turning into a Medal of Honor groupie, but by golly, I have.
Absolutely, because, we get to see a lot of Medal of Honor recipients now since the Medal of Honor Museum broke ground and has been doing all the work. That's a fabulous place just to go tour and see the skeleton of it as it's going up. But
can't wait. It will open next year on Medal of Honor Day, which is March 25th. I'm going to do a little bit of advertising. If you're not a Cornerstone member, I encourage you to join. If for no other reason, and it's on their website, the Cornerstone members get to tour it on the 24th of March. So we get our own special tour, which will still be pretty full. So I'll be out there for that because then it's going to be packed for a while. And I'll tell you this, so TVC, we haven't even really started talking about TVC, but we do multiple events, and we're going to do several of them next year at the Medal of Honor Museum, just because it's such a great venue.
Well, let's talk about the TVC because you've done work on some committees over the years with all the other things you do, and you became a commissioner for the Texas Veterans Commission back in, was it March of this year?
March of this year. You got the call in February, and it was, okay, don't say anything until the governor puts out his press release.
Yeah, because we've been talking about it over the course of the last year or so, and you know, I mean, that is some things that you really desired to do, and I'm glad that it happened because you are a great promoter and a great supporter of our veterans, and there's not a better place for you than to be a commissioner on the Texas Veterans Commission.
Correct. Thank you. I really appreciate that compliment coming from two people who put my work to shame. You guys are awesome with that. And
how much did we pay him today, Rick?
I don't know, but you know, all I do.
My head is going to be so big, I'm not going to be able to walk out the door.
You and Mary do all the heavy lifting. All I do is just sit around and take pictures of y'all working.
Oh, man, but you are tireless in that devotion, and it's part of, and very much where I wanted to go, and thank you kind of for that setup. So to talk about what the Texas Veterans Commission is, we are the state agency that supports veterans. And if I can give everybody one word to remember us by, it's advocacy. So we are the advocate for our veterans. I did this literally yesterday. I had somebody call, and we've already gotten the situation resolved. It's not exactly in our wheelhouse, but if it's an issue a veteran has, email us or call us and let us know. Hit the website. A lot of ways to contact us, but basically had a veteran who was struggling with the VA to get his whatever he had wrong with him, and I didn't go into the details because of HIPAA. But I said, hey, call us. And come to find out what he was doing, he was talking to the wrong clinic, and we got him set up. And he's going in tomorrow to have his appointment done after 3 weeks of trying to do it on his own. And it's like, and I ask veterans all the time, why would you want to do this on your own? Why would you want to talk to the VA, this massive Byzantine morass of federal bureaucracy? Call us. We'll do that for you. And the beauty of it is we do that. Our people do that 24/7. Well, they don't work 24/7, but you know, they're doing this 10 or 12 hours a day. When we call the VA, one, we already, you know, based on what you need, we already knew who we need to call. 7 times out of 10, the person at the other end of the phone, they've had a conversation with before, you know, and so it's 5 minutes of, hey, what's going on with your kids and all that stuff. And that sounds crazy, but you think about it, if you want to get something done, you want that person at the other end of the phone on your side. So when you have a relationship with that person, they are much more motivated to help you resolve this.
Ding, ding, ding. I say that all the time. It's about relationships.
Indeed.
And I tout the same thing about the TVC. I'm like, what do you mean you're paying a lawyer to help you with your disability claim? Why are you doing that? Go through the TVC.
Yep.
They will, once you sign that piece of paper giving them the full authority and rights to do everything, and you hand off your stuff to them, you don't do another thing.
Yep.
They take care of it. I can't tell you how many times I've had that conversation.
And I so appreciate you doing that. And I actually do. I have a more formal presentation that I make to groups, but I like to talk about that. And you were talking about claims, and this is important. I'm on a tangent. We have 9 primary pillars of support, and I'm not going to go through all 9 of them on the show, but you can find it. It's a great picture, and I forgot to send it over to you so we could flash it up real fast. The claims is one of the biggest. So not only do we make sure the claims package goes in properly, but let's face it, not every claims package gets approved the way a veteran wants it.
Right.
So here's the thing that I have only recently, this year I have learned, is when you appeal a claim to the VA, you are actually going into federal court. And there are 2 levels. There's the appeals, and then there's a court of higher appeals, I think they call it. So if you don't get the answer you want, you can appeal upwards. Okay, we don't have a staff of lawyers, but we have an MOU with a nonprofit that has the National Veterans Legal Services Program. They have an 86% success rate handling VA claims that are appealed to these 2 levels of appeals, 2 levels of courts. Excuse me. And I mean, actual legal process. We're not going to ask you to join our club. We're not going to ask you for money. We are strictly here to serve you. I have been able to help. And again, this is personally gratifying to me, but the credit needs to go to the TVC staff. More than 80% of them are veterans. They are doing this as their passion project. They are serving other veterans. Me, I'm just the pretty face. Boy, did they screw that one up. That goes out and tries to educate the public on what we do. I am the ambassador appointed by the governor. I am very proud of that. I love our governor. I think he's the best in my lifetime in Texas, and that's a lot of decades. I hate to admit that. But that's what we're here for. And we can make the process so much easier. And that's the thing, and Mary, you alluded to it, that so many veterans get so frustrated with. It's just knowing who to call. Mm-hmm. And they don't.
Right.
And I tell the story, when you get out, and we all experience this, it might be 6 months. Excuse me, it might be 6 weeks. It might be 6 months. It might be 6 years. But like a prairie dog, you pop your head out and you start looking around going, wait a minute, they told me Texas was great for veterans. Where do I start? It's a real simple email address, info@tvc.texas.gov. It's the same website, or just Google. I just tell people, look, just Google Texas Veterans Commission, right, and it'll pop right up. Mm-hmm. I hate having to try to remember specific websites. And on there, and on everything that goes out, including my business cards as commissioner, and I get to brag about being a state official. Okay, that's just stroking my ego, which is the only way they pay me, which my only regret. This is not a paid spot for me. And I honestly don't care. Michelle said it yesterday. I came home. I'm sure you guys were slammed with veteran events. I had four or five. I had a bunch, and it was awesome. I had lunch sitting next to the World War II veteran, 103 years old, who shot the lock off of Dachau prison.
Wow.
Whoa. I attended 2 Congressional Veteran Commendation Awards for Congressman Keith Self and Congressman Pat Fallon. I had 6 friends of mine that were awarded Congressional Veteran Commendations. That's what the commissioner gets to do. He gets to go show his pretty face. And although in those, I was very much staying in the background of those. That is not a day for me. That is a day for everybody else. And it's a day to honor everybody who has served. And But you know what's nice? 365 days a year, that's my job. Serving veterans who've served. And that my entire, and I call it mine because it's it is the royal we. Although technically I am a commissioner. So yeah, I guess I've never been in a position like this. So it's I'm getting used to it still. It hasn't even been a year yet. And I'm absolutely thrilled. But I work with people who have that same passion. And it is awesome. And so really, and the other people that I will talk about are our county veteran service officers that we connect with. And trust me, they backstop us like crazy.
What do they do? What's their job?
So a county veteran service officer has a similar job to the job that TVC has, but they are boots on the ground in virtually every county in Texas. And they are paid by the county. They're part of the county staff. I like to brag that Denton County, where I live, probably has the finest Paul Bastich, who's another retired Air Force senior enlisted who runs the finest office, I believe, in the state. And I say that a little bit to get some of these other counties to up their game a little bit. And we're working at TVC to support them both with training and with, you talked about our funding. We talked about funding a little bit. We also are providing funds for them to grow those offices. But there's somebody that you can walk in boots on the ground and have an appointment with. Now, we also have employment staff. We have claims staff in the DFW area. So you can do that here as well. And so it's a very similar mission. And it's funny. And then and I'll talk about another one of our partners, which is the Texas Veterans Network, and people that I love. And of course, that's run by Mia Garcia, another Marine. Of course, it's run by a Marine because you put a Marine in charge and stuff gets done. And I said,
getting pretty deep in here.
Man.
Oh yeah, we lay it on.
I spent like 4 hours with Don Graves last night, and I'm gonna listen to this Marine.
Absolutely. Speaking of Iwo Jima Marines, we love Don Graves. He is so awesome. But yeah, and Don has told me that, Mary, he's trying to get you to enlist, go back into the Marine Corps where you belonged.
Oh yeah. They won't take me there either. They said everyone said I'm too old.
Yeah, I hate to have that label, but it is that label. So we serve how we can serve.
That's exactly
you
right.
Have not, if you're listening to this and you have not had a chance to meet Don Graves, the next time you see an event that he's at, he is incredible. Dear friend of Woody Williams, our friend Woody Williams, who was another Iwo Jima Marine. Yeah, and it's the Marine Corps birthday, and I love that one meme. It's just prepare for it. The Marine Corps birthday is coming, and you will hear about this when you watch it.
And you'll hear about it for days before and days after.
Oh, absolutely.
I was telling a story yesterday. My dad was a World War II South Pacific Marine, spent 2.5 years over there. And as a little boy, we were downtown Fort Worth, and he stopped to talk to somebody. And I was probably about 3 years old, and I reached up there and tugged on that guy's coat sleeve, and I said, "Sir, are you a Marine?" My daddy pulled me to the side, and he got in my face. He said, "Ricky boy, you don't ever ask anybody if they're a Marine, because if they aren't, you're going to embarrass them, and if they are, they're going to tell you." So
there's a lot of truth to that. Oh, we do have fun with it. Talking about that prairie dog popping up and looking around, the number one thing I think most people miss, and it's not looking for benefits, although that's an important part of the equation. It's the camaraderie that we have, the fun that we have. I know some people are kind of going, yeah, this banter is kind of crazy. It's so much fun to talk to a veteran and fall right back into these old conversations. That's the other part that the prairie dog is missing, is looking around going, where are my brothers and sisters? I miss my community.
And that's what's so important about roll call, because,
yes,
we get these guys at the tables, these men and women that have served, and it doesn't matter what branch, we sit down and it's like old home week, even if we just met.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why whenever somebody says, well, we could get more people and if we use rectangular tables, I said, yeah, but that doesn't give us what we're looking for.
Right.
The round table is where you really get everybody engaged. It's not this end is talking to that end and that end's talking to this end.
Right.
It's everybody face to face and they're having a great time. And if somebody on the opposite end of town would step up and find a place and get a board together, we could have a roll call on that side of town. But
so let me get through this year, and then next year I'll go to work on that. But
let's work on that.
You got to find a facility where you can have that, and I deeply appreciate the church that does that.
Yeah.
And it's there. It's just south of. I'm dating myself. I was going to say Carswell Air Force Base, but it's not called that anymore.
Right.
We call it that.
We still call it that.
so anyway, over on the west side of Fort Worth, and if you haven't been, I really encourage you to go. Mary puts on a phenomenal event. That's where I first met Mary. And then we started seeing each other everywhere. We probably at the same events and just didn't realize we never formally met. And I'm still trying to figure out where Rick and I first met, but it goes back a ways.
Yeah. He's everywhere.
He is everywhere.
But the reality is that there's so many really large churches and that seems to be what we've been fortunate to find, because Birchman, when a member of the church went to the pastor and said, hey, you need to host this group, and they don't charge for the facility. And now they're renovating. So we're temporarily at Willow Park Baptist Church.
Okay.
And they're not charging us for the facility either. We would have to raise far more money if we had to pay. So it seems to be, because what we pay for is the food and the associated costs of running the organization and the tablecloths and all that kind of craziness. But the fact of the matter is that if you can find a facility, and I'm going to say it's likely a church of some sort, but the Baptist churches have really large churches, and they're willing to give up their space once a month, it just really helps, because it costs way too much to do this for free.
So I will say this. I was at Prestonwood Baptist Church yesterday for their Veterans Day lunch, which is where I was sitting with the 103-year-old World War II vet. The problem they have is the facility they have, which is quite large, was already full.
Yeah.
Wow.
We've got to find something bigger over on this side of the town to do something more like roll call. But any veteran listening who's on this side of the town going, boy, I'd love to do something like that. They only do it every quarter. But happy to, Blair Thomas runs it. He's doing a phenomenal job. You don't have to be a member of Prestonwood Baptist. I'm not, to attend. This is really a veteran group. But you're happy to join it. But yes, I will make next year a priority that we expand into the Dallas part of DFW somehow, some way.
Yeah, because right now we do have people that drive from Plano and Frisco and Waxahachie and all over that side of town. They'll drive once a month to our luncheons.
And that's really cool. And I really appreciate you being a promoter of TVC. We need more ambassadors. We are trying to grow. And again, and I've noticed this, a lot of organizations, and I get it, they're trying to grow.
Right.
You can talk to us. You cannot talk to us. We have plenty of work. We're not trying to accomplish anything but serve veterans. Now, there are other organizations that are trying to grow for a variety of different reasons. It's to expand service and things like that. And I am going to work on a couple of those items. And I want to, if I may, I want to go down one tangent, which is one of my favorite passions, which is what I call the Vetrepreneur Tribe, our entrepreneur-oriented veterans. And I'm going to give a shout out to Patrick Alcorn, who is a West Point grad, who is working at the University of Texas at Arlington. They have built one of the finest Vetrepreneur Tribe programs This is another one of the pillars that TVC supports. And we are trying to figure out how to grow that. And I think the answer, at least in the short term, is finding and helping grow those campuses that have veteran entrepreneur programs, best way to say it. And I know my son I get to brag about this. Last week, we found out he was accepted at UTD. He's going to major in public policy, so he's super jazzed about that. Several days before, purely by happenstance, I had visited with the Military Student Veterans Center, not to be confused with Student Veterans of America, which is a student-run organization, but the campus actually has employees who support our veterans. UNT has this, UTA obviously has. UTA is considered one of the best schools for veterans in the nation. I know Texas A&M does. I'm trying to reach more of those schools to make sure that we're supporting them, but they are starting a Veteranpreneur Tribe arm, and they're just getting it off the ground. And so these are ways TVC is supporting our veterans. Every state has a state agency. And I want to say two things about that. One, we were the first state agency in the nation to have our own Women's Veterans Initiative. And let me tell you, until I started taking on more of a role like I'm doing now, I did not realize our women veterans often have some of the biggest needs, but a lot of times they put themselves at the back of the line for whatever reason, I don't know. And we are trying to change that culturally to make sure they are getting the benefits that they need, and they are getting the support that they need. So we're very, very proud of that. And I mentioned every state has a state agency. So our executive director, Tom Palladino, who I think is doing a really, really good job. The more I've gotten in to learn the mechanism, I've gotten behind the curtain and I've gotten to see the wizard and how they work. When I was on the other side, I wasn't so sure. I got inside and I'm like, oh, no. His heart's in the right place, performing a good mission. Some of the criticism that he's taken, I think, is completely unwarranted. And everybody, and when you get to the top, you guys have taken criticism despite the incredible job you've done. And a lot of it's just envy. I'll use the ugly green word and I'll move on. Tom's done a really, really good job. I've had veterans that have reached out to me and said, one in particular, I won't mention his name, but his dad was having problems in Oklahoma. Tom knows the Oklahoma veteran director, called him up and said, hey, I got this. And he goes, well, where is he? Let me have my guy here, call him, starting to get things handled. So we don't even care if the veteran is in Texas. Granted, we're going to hand them off. We're not going to be able to serve them directly. But again, we're back to talking about the Byzantine morass that is government bureaucracy. How much nicer is it when you're calling the person you need to call, or when they're calling you, which is even better? And that's very much what our role is. People don't know that benefits are not the same as claims with the VA. And you would think that would be logical, that VA claims and VA benefits talk to each other. Oh, it's just starting all over again. We know how to weave through that.
Yeah. And that's, and that really boils down to your point, the education piece. We have to educate people. Yep. And that's part of what we've got some folks that have come and sit in the lobby now, since we have some space we didn't have before. We have some of our different VSOs will come and they'll sit out there in the lobby, come and talk about their burial benefits or burial benefits with our crowd. What happens at end of life? Those guys need more information. They do not have enough information.
Absolutely.
They don't even know some of them don't know what questions they should be asking. So it's so important to get that education there for them. So we've been having some different groups come, and as long as they're VSOs, we don't let people that are out there trying to make money off of the veterans. We don't entertain them. We entertain the VSOs that want to come and just provide that education and provide what these veterans need, so that when they're coming into the lunch, they come at 9:30. Heck, half of them come at 9:30 to 10:30 in the morning. They're there at least an hour before we even start, just so that they can visit. So that gives them some time to visit with those VSOs and learn what else is out there for me that I don't know about.
Mary, you just hit on something, and I'd like to take a second and talk about that. A couple of things a lot of veterans don't know. Number one, your spouse can be buried with you. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know that. We asked my mom about that, and she goes, "No, I'm going to be buried I'm going to be buried with Dad at Fort Sam Houston." I have not had enough coffee yet today. He's in the Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery. We have 4 national cemeteries in the state of Texas. We are soon to have 5 state cemeteries, and that is run by retired Colonel Tony Hale. Excuse me, I said Tom. Tony Hale, who's absolutely a great individual, and he is running the Texas Veterans Land Board, who is doing our cemeteries. But the state cemeteries have the same rule that a spouse may be buried with their significant other. And I tell you what, it is amazing when I talk to people about that, the comfort that comes over their faces. It's like, oh, that's one thing we don't have to worry about. Yeah. And this is a right that veterans earn. Another thing that they run, and this is not TVC, but these are our partners. We work very closely together. I'm going to wrap up talking about Texas Workforce Commission, run by another Marine. Oh, sorry. Did I throw that in? Sorry about that. But the other thing that the land board does is it runs our veteran homes. We are about to have one, and I can't remember, Rick, were you out when we dedicated the P-51 at the Tuskegee Airmen home?
I was there.
Mary was there.
Okay. I thought one of you were there, and we get to hear from my friend, and I'm proud to call her a friend, Dr. Don Buckingham, who is the land commissioner for the state of Texas. An extremely important role for veterans. So when I talk about TVC knows it can't be all things to all people. A lot of what we accomplish with our partners. Tomorrow I'll be going down to Red Oak. Come see us in Red Oak. We're at the Holiday Inn right off of 35. We're having another Red, White, and You hiring event. It is open to the public. We focus on veterans, but it is in fact open to the public, and everybody is welcome. We have a lot of fun with that, but that is our partnership with the Texas Workforce Commission and their workforce solution teams, and that's what they call their teams that are DFW, Tarrant County, West Texas, all over the state. And I meant to finish. We are about to open our 11th veteran home in the state. We have one in Bonham. We're now going to have one in Fort Worth. We have one down in Houston. We have one in San Antonio. And it's really designed to take care of veterans. And if you're looking for something to do to support veterans, and if you're a church or a Boy Scout troop or something like that, go out and visit our veterans home. We're going to do it as my Marine Corps League chapter. We're going to do it with Bonham, and we're going to go up and we're going to barbecue burgers and hot dogs for these guys.
Nice.
Just to hang out, just to hear some of these great stories, but just to let them know that they haven't been forgotten. Find out who's there, how many people are there, and do Thanksgiving cards or Christmas cards for them. It's really, really simple. It's an easy lift, as we like to say. And I'm gonna. This is gonna sound really selfish of me, maybe a bit narcissistic. the gratitude that I feel when we do stuff like this, it fills me up. I literally, yesterday we were talking about the Congressional Veteran Commendation Awards. It filled my heart up. I got more out of it than I think some of those recipients did, that our veterans were being honored.
And just to see how sometimes veterans serve and honor other veterans, that fills me up. Yesterday we had our Freedom Mobility golf tournament, and there was one veteran, Johnny Yellock, that we had on our
Johnny's a
program.
friend.
You know him?
I know Johnny.
And Johnny was out there, and we had another one of our veterans. We have these solo riders because this guy was paralyzed, but solo riders, a golf cart that, I mean, these guys can get in the same position they'd be if they were standing up. And, he and Johnny were playing on the same team. And just to see Johnny serving this other veteran, Carlton, and taking so much care to make sure that he was having a great day too, And, I started crying out there on the green watching him, because I'm thinking that's what it's about, serving those that served.
Yep. Yeah. And it's so important. And the other part of this, and again, I go back to my prairie dog poking their head up. One of the things they're looking for is that concept of Charlie Mike. How do I continue the mission? How do I continue forward? And I saw a post from Ryan Mannion this morning on LinkedIn where he was talking about it. He created a foundation to honor Travis Mannion, who was a Marine, and Ryan is also a Marine. I've actually gotten to meet him. It was actually at the Marine Corps Marathons, their sign-up event. They have this great big expo. It's really cool, and everybody's out. And
did you run it? Did you run that marathon? You don't look like a marathon guy to me.
You're just being cruel now. I couldn't even drive the marathon. We had signed up, Michelle and I, we were going to walk the 10K, but they had changed the route because the 10K used to be part of, kind of like the Cowtown Marathon. The 10K is the same route, but shorter. It turns around quicker and comes back. And that might have been the last time I ran a 10K, and that's been a ways back because it was before Michelle. My life is before Michelle, after Michelle. But no, I didn't. But it's those people that have created ways or have found ways or groups to serve with. And that's another thing. If you're listening to this and you're a veteran or you want to support veterans and you're not sure how to do it, info@tvc.texas.gov, and we will connect you to our partners. And I'm kind of I'm taking over the show. You know me, I'll do that. But you had mentioned that I had served on a committee, and it was the Fund for Veteran Assistance Committee. And I am incredibly proud of the work that we did, because this year, it's for the next cycle, but this year we awarded $44 million in grants to serve almost 50,000 veterans in the state of Texas. And it is one of the biggest things that we do at TVC. And quite a few groups that you know about, including the One Tribe Foundation. And now I'm blanking on, and there's a ton. Community Learning Center, quite a few, the Tarrant County Meals on Wheels, where we did our big check presentation this year. This year, TVC went to the dogs. We have finally started to have a kind of we have 5 different areas that we do grants, and we created kind of a little sub area where we had $1 million for service dogs. So
that's great.
Went to the dogs, and in Irving, it was Canine Companions. Out in Rockwall, it was Patriot Paws. We've got several more. And the beauty of it is we're not limited to that million. It's just the state gave us an extra million for them, and it's going extremely well. I got to sit yesterday, and Judge Roach, who runs the Veteran Treatment Court in Collin County, his service dog is called Justice, this gorgeous chocolate spaniel of some kind. And Justice loves me for some reason, and I think he knows that my heart is still breaking because we lost Cooper earlier this year. And anybody who's seen my Facebook page has seen.
I remember that. Yeah.
And they're just so special, but they make life better. And we're doing this, and I won't go into all 5 of the areas, but I have been so proud of that work. But I did want to say, one of the things you can really do to help veterans, people love to play the scratch off. So I'm going to throw our Veterans Cash scratch up so you see what it looks like. And I have been struggling to find it up in my neck of the woods. So I keep asking the managers of these different places. In fact, I've got a meeting with the HEB people, and I'm like, why don't you love veterans? So what are you talking about? We love veterans. Well, you don't have our scratch off ticket. And that's the biggest part of our funding comes from this silly little scratch off ticket. And as I've been telling people, once you find it, hey, when you do Christmas cards this year, buy 20 of them.
That's cheaper than, or just send that with a little note, because that's cheaper than a Christmas card. So,
yep, absolutely. I do it, and I have been doing it when we do birthday cards. So we still, for my clients and my day job, we still send our clients and our friends birthday cards when we're not putting silly messages on Facebook. And the other thing, my one ask, if you're on LinkedIn, particularly LinkedIn, but if you're on Facebook, I think we have an Instagram account because I'm not on Instagram. Follow us on LinkedIn. We're trying to reach 25,000 followers. I was trying to do it by Thursday's meeting. I'm going to come up about 500 people short, but I have increased, or I have helped increase, I should say. I didn't do it all myself, but I've helped increase our followers by almost 15% this year.
That's
and
good.
By the end of my term, I want us to be at 100,000. Our communications director looked at me and said, Chuck, the VA only has 92,000. I said, everything is bigger in Texas.
That's good. Well, Chuck, our time's about over. And, you know, one thing that we need to do a better job of is to communicate those resources that are available. Mary's great at that because people, I mean, they're calling her all the time, texting her, hey, I've got this problem, that problem, and Mary can just say, go here, go there.
Right.
But, I mean, the resources are out there. I see these things that they have all the time, these veteran resource deals where all the different agencies are there. And you go there and there's just a handful of people that show up. So we need to do a better job at promoting those to get those veterans out so they can actually meet the people that are serving them. So
I couldn't agree with you more. And we are at a lot of those. We want to be at more of those. And I'll tell you what, not to go too political, but Congressman Beth Van Dunn, and she partners with a couple of other congressmen. I know Keith Self is part of that as well. And I don't remember the others. I should know my congressman better, but I don't. She does hers. Now, this is a hiring fair. It's not a veteran fair, but it kind of doubles as that because all of the agencies are out there. She does it at Globe Life Park, and it is huge.
That's good.
But yeah, absolutely. And anything that I can do, if somebody's doing that and they want to reach out to me, again, the easiest way to reach me is info@tvc.texas.gov and just say, hey, tell Commissioner Wright to give me a call, or we've got this event here. Can you support it? Don't be afraid to ask us because we have claims people on the ground. We have employment people on the ground. We will reach out to our friends at the Texas Workforce Commission. We will reach out to our friends at Texas Parks and Wildlife. That's another partner of ours. And they do some great stuff every September. They're doing these ruck marches. Our veterans can now get into all of our state parks for free. And we encourage them to do something, whatever it is that you want to do. But I get a question. And anybody who's met Mary knows that she is a wealth of information and knowledge. Rick, face it, Rick's a Vietnam era guy. He's starting to forget all that stuff. Oh, did I say that out loud?
I was thinking a while ago, Mary was talking about those long tables and round tables, and all the older veterans like me, we can't hear anything anyway. So we just smile and just shake our heads. So,
but I also it's interesting, and Mary hit on the dynamic of being at a round table. If you're at a long table,
yeah,
you can't hear.
You miss that.
But across the table, you've actually got a chance to do that. And it's a better dynamic, and I hadn't thought about that. So that's my takeaway from the show. That's a really, really good.
That's an Air Force first sergeant for you. She knows her stuff.
Well, before I was a first sergeant, I worked education and training. So I did a lot of that kind of educating people and making sure people were trained. But I also did protocol for a few years, or for a few months. So I have a lot of different experiences besides my 20 years in the restaurant business. So, I just take all of that. I take all of it and I mush it together and life experience and try to help people whenever we can help them. We don't, like I tell people at roll call, we don't have the funds to help somebody fix their house or do anything else, but we sure can point you to the people that can. And that's why people call or email us hey, I need help with this. I need help with that. Where do I go? Who do I talk to? And we will connect them in a hurry.
And since you said that, this year, for the first time, Tarrant County Meals on Wheels applied for, and I mentioned the 5 areas. One of our areas is Housing for Heroes. They applied for and received a grant to do Housing for Heroes. So let me put that in your quiver. But you can find all of that on the TVC site, all of our partners. But again, if you don't want to search through it, we're advocates for you. Just send us an email and say, hey, I need help with this. Boom, there you go. There it is. Hey, Michelle.
The boss is here.
How about the boss is here?
Sorry. Hi, guys.
Oh, she's not. I thought you were wearing your USO shirt.
Oh, no,
That was yesterday's shirt. Okay, I've slept since then. So, Rick, I don't know if you know Mary, but you know Rick Irving. Say hi to Rick Irving.
How are you, Michelle? Good to see you. Good to see you here and not out on the trail and at the carry the load or someplace. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot cooler here.
Absolutely.
And I have to throw this in. The Texas flag over my left shoulder is Michelle painted. We went to a friend's house and they did it was a painting party, and everybody got to do Texas flags. I turned mine into basically kindling for firewood. But Michelle has the talent, and I love that flag, and that's why it hangs there.
That looks good from a distance. I guess it's probably pretty good if you're hanging it on your wall.
Yep, it is pretty good, and I realize I'm blocking. I have my Marine officer sword hanging on the wall, and I love that because the case my father-in-law got for me. And then if you go all the way to the left, it's and again, I said I didn't intend to become a Medal of Honor groupie, but I kind of have. I didn't realize I've got 14 books about and by Medal of Honor recipients, and with 6 of the challenge coins representing them. Only one of which I bought, which was Teddy Roosevelt's, and it's the USS Teddy Roosevelt. And the very first book listed there is a current copy of his book that he wrote, Rough Riders. I'll kind of wrap this up, or my part of this up, telling another Medal of Honor story. There are 2 father and son Medal of Honor recipients. Do you know who they are?
No.
Arthur and Douglas MacArthur. Teddy Roosevelt and his son, and I am blanking on his name now. His son was the oldest officer on D-Day, and he died on D-Day, literally leading from the front. And when they landed, they came to him and said, "Sir, we've landed on the wrong beach." And he looked at whoever gave him that and turned to his XO and OPSO and said, "We start our fight here." And
He was a general, wasn't he? Was he a
yes,
general?
He was. Yes, he was. He was the ranking officer also who passed away on D-Day. And I say passed away, he died of a heart attack.
Yeah. I can't think of his name, but I know the story. So,
and I know his brother, because recently his brother died during World War I, and they moved his brother's grave, Quentin Roosevelt. I can't believe I can't remember it because I love Teddy. But sorry, I shouldn't even try to remember the name right now. They moved it so Quentin is now buried next to his brother. And his brother is still buried at or near Normandy in the American Grave Cemetery there. Maybe
someday soon you can go there and see it.
I'm hoping. It's on the bucket list. I got so much stuff going on next year. We know it won't be next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is the trip of a lifetime. Mary, did you, or was it Kelly who escorted Don to the 80th?
Kelly did. Now, Dwayne Lee does small group tours, guided tours, 10 to 12 people, so that you can really get engaged in the history and see the places and not have the massive crowds. Because like when she was there with him, there were so many people they couldn't even move. So it's hard to really experience the way that you can experience it if you're in one of those small groups. So just in case that's something that interests you, Dwayne Lee does that, and
we will have that conversation.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of this Hometown Heroes podcast. You're the first Texas Veteran Commissioner that we've had on here, so. Yeah, you've got the distinction of saying that. So
there we go. I am very proud to hold that distinction, and I am beyond honored. Like I said, I've been watching Hometown Heroes since you started, and I feel for you. I know you're dragging the bottom of the barrel to find messages. But I really am, in all seriousness, deeply appreciated. This is such a great show. And I appreciate what you guys do. I am humbled by y'all's service.
We just love you and appreciate you and all you do because, you just hit the tip of the iceberg on all the things you do. I mean, we could spend 2 or 3 hours just talking about whenever you were the chairman of building the Gold Star Family Monument in Frisco, because that's a huge deal. Yeah. So
very proud of that.
You're a great American.
Thank you, sir.
Great Marine.
Yeah, thanks very much to both of you.
Well, thank you too, Chuck. And we'll see you soon someplace.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Y'all have
God bless.
Day.
Okay. You too. Wow.
Lots of resources out there. Like you said, we just scratched the surface. So if there are veterans out there that need something, they need to stop being afraid to ask. The worst anybody can say is no, or I can't help you. But you know what? If you don't ask the question, you'll never know.
And Chuck kind of talked about a little bit, so many times veterans, they file a claim, then they get rejected or it gets denied, and then they just blow it off.
Right.
You need to go continue to appeal and appeal until they either say, okay, we're going to do it, or it's time to give up. So
exactly. If the military broke you, and broke looks different for everybody, so you can't see everybody's scars. You can't tell everybody's injuries, but if the military broke you, they need to own it.
That's right.
Right.
Well, you had a big, you had a big Veterans Day yesterday, didn't you, Mary?
Yeah, we had the parade in the morning, and then we had Don out speaking at Cross City Church in Euless. And what a fabulous facility they have, first of all. And then they had the Arlington Community Band wow, they are really something. They're so good. And they played several songs before Don spoke. And then Don spoke for probably about 40 minutes.
Wow.
And we do it now where I kind of moderate so that he's, we can kind of follow a path and get to the end of the story, the pieces that are real important. So I really wanted to make sure with being at a church that we captured the story from the time he's on the beach and said that prayer to the foxhole where he forgot that prayer, to the 9 years after he got out of the service that he forgot that prayer, to the day he made the prayer 9 years later, God reached out and reminded him. And so I try to tie that all together with what I ask him to tell them stories about. But he was very engaging and everybody really enjoyed it. And that's off we've had so many activities all for, like a whole week. Don's speaking again today, right now, at another event. I had Dana take him to because we have the show. But we had, 7, 8 veterans at Wayside Middle School. We have had veterans at other schools on Friday, some other veterans at schools yesterday. So it's great when the schools remember Veterans Day and want the veterans to come in and speak to the students, because that's really good for the students to hear.
Absolutely.
And
this
museum stuff out there at Wayside, so they got to go through there and see all of that stuff.
This afternoon I'll have Doug Peterson and Al Chatwin at my grandson's school. They're going to be talking to them. So
yeah,
a lot of activities for the veterans.
Yeah, we don't have Veterans Day. We have Veterans Week, right?
I know it. Well, roll call is Friday.
Friday. Yeah, we move it up because of Thanksgiving. And this Friday is full, and I don't have as many cancellations as usual. So if somebody really, really desperately wants to come, they need to email us at info@roll-call.org. And I'll let them know if I get cancellations, I can slide them in. And we have Alan West, Lieutenant Colonel,
Army Lieutenant Colonel Alan West.
Lieutenant Colonel, and he is going to be our speaker. And we want to hear about his service. And, he has a long legacy in his family of service. So it will be really interesting to hear. Alan is a friend of mine, of Don's, of almost anybody who's military. It's that connection, like you talked about earlier, how we really need that connection with our military brothers and sisters. So
especially somebody that's on the forefront like Alan is. He's a great American, and
yes.
I had the honor to go with him a lot of places and do a lot of photography work for him a few years ago. And he always carries the Constitution in his pocket.
Yeah.
He's not afraid. He's not afraid to stand there and say, "What part of the Constitution? Will you look at that and tell me what part of the Constitution are you saying that it is?" Because it's not in there. So that'd be a great meeting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So.
Well, Christmas is coming up, and our friend Larry O'Neill, he started a 501c3. He's given away tens of thousands of bicycles over the years, over 30 years, I think. And he's got a big bicycle drive going on in Fort Worth. If you're an individual or company or corporation or whatever, you can just scan that QR code to learn more about that, because that's coming up. And there's no forms to fill out for kids to get a bicycle. You just get in line and just get a bicycle for a kid. That's coming up. And here's a QR code that goes to our YouTube page. And this is where you can watch all our podcasts that are on YouTube. And we'd love to have you go in there and like the page and be a subscriber. Just a lot of stuff going on. And it's been a good week.
Yeah, it has.
It's been a good week. It seems like it's been a full week, but it's only Monday or Tuesday. So
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired already.
Absolutely. Well, thank everyone out there for being a part of this show, and we just are so glad that we had Chuck on. We'll get him on again soon. Maybe he can come to roll call and have him speak for a little bit and talk about the Texas Veterans Commission. So, Mary, thank you for always being here and for all you do for our veterans and for their families. You're a great American. Thank you for your service to our country.
And you, Rick, you do as much. You do a lot.
Well,
A lot.
like I said, I just show up and sit around and take pictures of people at work. But I'll see you.
Priceless.
I'll see you Friday at roll call.
Amen. I'll see you there.
Okie